Alright everyone, we're back with our historic review content. We said we were going to do it. Last week we did the greatest heavyweights of all time. We also did the greatest fighters of all time. This week we're switching gears a little bit. We're going to switch to nationalities. We have Cinco de Mayo coming up. We've got some big fights across the pond. But before we do that, we're going to get into, it being Passover, the greatest Jewish fighters of all time. So with that being said, I don't think a lot of people know it's been some time since a Jewish world champion and some of these great fighters know about all the history and the background of some of these guys. I'd love to hear your take. We'll start off your top 10 greatest Jewish fighters with number 10.
Yeah, listen. The prelude to it real quick is that this great sport that's been around thousands of years, every ethnic group, every nationality has had their day, and some still do. But they've all had their day. All of them. All of them. The African Americans, the Spanish, the Latinos, whether you say Mexican, Puerto Rican, Italian, Irish, they've all had their day in this great sport. And the Jewish fighters had their day. And when they had their day, it was a good day. I mean, it was a hell of a day. It was a hell of an era. They had some great fighters. And the great thing about the eras back then, when they emerged together with all the other great fighters, they fought each other. And they proved themselves. They proved their mettle by fighting the best. Not by building records up. Not by building records up. But just by fighting whoever was there. And part of their losses was part of their greatness, because it's part of what forged them, what gave them what they needed to go on to be great fighters. Some of them with 20-year careers, some of them with 200 fights. There will never be a time, an era like that again. So the first thing I'll do is I'll apologize to... See, I make it, it's my list, it's subjective, I get it. But I have confidence in it. I put a lot of time into it. When I apologize for the people that want to hear modern day fighters. Because in this case, I couldn't find one that really belonged on this list that would satisfy some of the fans out there that they might remember and recognize a name that they don't recognize that goes back so many years. That they might recognize one of, again, the fighters of more contemporary times, of more modern times. So I'll start with that apology, but I'll also start with a little concession and saying the closest one I would get would be Mike Rossman. I would start him, I won't start him at number 10, but I'll start him right outside just because I do have a heart. Yeah, believe it or not, I have a heart for the people that say, I want to hear a modern day fighter. So I'll start with a Mike Rossman who was 44-7-3, light heavyweight champion, beat Victor Galindez, tough guy, and then he lost to Victor Galindez in a rematch. I'll put him just outside 10. I don't know if that satisfies people, maybe it don't, but I will. And then I'll go to number 10. And number 10, Jackie Fields. 86 fights, 72 wins, 9 losses, 2 draws, welterweight world champion. Great fighter who's around, as I just said, during times that had so many great fighters fighting each other. I mean, it was hard for me to figure out who number 10 was, because right there I had battling Levinsky, who was a light heavyweight champ who had 289 total fights, and I had to figure, do I put Jackie Fields 10? Do I put battling Levinsky? So I wound up with Fields. But man, it was a battle to figure it out. And then number 9, Jackie Kid Berg. 192 fights, 157 wins, 26 losses, 9 draws, welterweight champ. Fought from 1924 to 1945, 21 years. I mean, this guy was like a miniature Harry Greb. Windmill, never stopped punching. Harry Greb was incredible. And you could never have had these CompuBox numbers or whatever they call them with grabbed. You couldn't have kept up with them. Your fingers would have fell off. You couldn't have kept up with Jackie Kid Berg. Number 8, Betty Bass, featherweight and junior lightweight world champion, 242 total fights, 156 wins, 28 losses, 6 draws, 49 no decision fights. Yeah, back in those days, there were states that boxing still wasn't legal, or where they were against boxing and they were worried about bringing the element of gambling into it. Because with gambling, you brought in certain characters into the sport, quite frankly. And, well, when you brought the element of gambling, especially back then when it wasn't as obviously well regulated as it is today, you had opportunities for guys to kind of fix things so they could win big bets. Yeah, you had that, right? So they knew that they might fix a fight. These fighters didn't get paid a lot of money. So they might be a fight fixed here or there, some business done to make some extra money. So that's why there was no decision fights, where they would take the element, the risk of having the gambling involved, where it would bring that element to the sport, the possibility of guys getting together to fix a fight. So that I'm giving you a little history lesson. So what they did was they had newspaper decisions where the local newspapers would decide who they thought won. So in those 49 no decision fights, the historians checked the newspapers, and only 13 of the 41 no decision fights went against Betty Bass. And most of his losses, of those accumulated 28, most of them came late in his career. Because let's face it, these guys fought a lot longer and a lot more often than fighters could dream about fighting today. So therefore, they got worn out. They fought a little too long sometimes. And some of these great fighters, the only way to beat them was when they were old. Number 7, Louis Kid Kaplan, 164 fights, 108 wins, 22 losses, 13 draws, 16 no decisions, featherweight world champion. Great, great fighter. Number 6, that was number 7. Number 6, the greatest southpaw to never win a world title, Lew Tendler. 172 fights, 159 wins, 11 losses, 2 draws, 98 no decision fights. Wow. And again, the same thing. Same explanation I gave you earlier. Number 5, Ted Kid Lewis. 302 fights. Wow. I got to read that again. 302 fights. Holy smokes. Holy Toledo. 192 wins, 32 losses, 14 draws, 64 no decision fights. Welterweight world champion. First fighter ever, here's some history for you, bud. First fighter ever to wear a mouthpiece.
Really?
Yeah, the only fighter that had teeth.
What year are we saying?
No, I'm only kidding. I'm just kidding, but way back. But can you imagine?
That's a great trivia question, though.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it really is. Number 4, Customato's favorite, one of his favorite. Customato told me that this is where he got the idea for the peekaboo. Really, where he got the idea for the peekaboo style. What a great fighter. Oh, my goodness. I'll say his nickname, too. Slapsy Maxie Rosenbloom. 297 fights, 207 wins, 39 losses, 26 draws. Here's an interesting piece of trivia for you. History. This is really interesting, really is. Explains about the different times in life, in this sport and everything, right? Different times. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Well, he would go into hometowns. Nobody wanted to fight him. They couldn't beat him. He was Slapsy Maxie Rosenbloom. I mean, one of the greatest fighters ever. So he would go into hometowns. He was a light heavyweight champ, by the way. He would go into hometowns and tell the promoter, listen, he knew that there's a reason why he had 26 draws. Because that's got to jump out at you. You got to. Right? When I just said 207 wins, 39 losses, 26 draws, that has to get your attention. There has
More
to be
draws than fights people have these days.
It has to be an explanation for it, right, bud? Here's the explanation. You ready? He said, listen, he told the promoters, you want me to fight? Yeah, we want you to fight in our place. I ain't going there unless I have an agreement. It's crazy. Unbelievable. Different times. He told the promoter, if I win the fight, instead of robbing me, because I know that you don't want to give it to me, because, I'm coming from out of town, you're building up your guy. But if I win, at least give me a draw.
Come on.
Yeah, no, that's a true story. The true story. That's why I love doing these things. You learn so.
So you got robbed 26 times?
Yeah, at least. That's why I love doing these lists, because it tells you what these people went through. We think we go through tough things. We do sometimes, but they went through tougher things. Anyone who wants to be great is going to go through something tough. That's part of the deal. Don't complain about it. Deal with it. He dealt with it. See, I love these stories so we could teach the young people about these great men, these great fighters. If I win the fight, at least give me the draw. Otherwise, I'm never going to fight here again. Okay, Slapsy. Number 3, Barney Ross. What a fighter. Lightweight and junior welterweight world champ. What a tough guy. You ready? Never knocked out in his career, dropped 2 times in his career. 72 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws. Okay, a tough guy like that. Tough guy. Tough guy. It's got to be connected to his bloodlines, to something with him, something about him, right, bud? Really, got to be. Can't just be that he just only had a good chin. To fight all the great fighters and only get dropped twice and never get stopped, it's got to be something special. Well, here it is. You ready? Here it is. In World War II, he volunteered for the Marines. He served in the Battle of Guadalcanal. He received the Silver Star for being wounded in combat. When they found him wounded in his foxhole and pulled him out of there, I almost get chills when I say this. I almost want to cry. They found 22 dead Japanese soldiers around his foxhole. Barney Ross.
Wow. All right, you gave me goosebumps. And
Barney Ross.
The power
Barney Ross. That's why I tell these stories. That's why it's important to do these lists.
Yeah. And talking about lists, it sounds like Barney Ross might be on another future list as maybe the best chin in boxing history. But we'll get to that another day.
Easily. Number 2. Wow. Hard to get to these heights and have to say this guy don't go high, this guy goes higher. It's so hard. It's so hard. But I did the best I can. Number 2, Abe Attell, featherweight champ. 154 fights, 72, 10, and 17, 53 no decisions. Back in that day, right? Ahead of his time. He went in to fight his hometowns. Listen to this. He went in to fight his hometowns. And he would make it a close... Listen to this. He found a way to hustle some extra money. They didn't make much money back then. He had to find out a way to do it. There were no decision fights. He wasn't going to fix a fight. He wasn't going to do that. So what was he going to do? Again, ahead of his time, he's thinking. He goes into to fight his hometown to make it a close fight. And he would hold himself back to make the fight close. Kind of like if you're watching a hustler movie with the pool hustlers, where they let somebody...
Minnesota Fats?
Yeah. They let the guy win a few games or play real close, and then the guy gets a little cocky. The guy gets a little confident, and he says, you want to up the bets? They might even lose some of the small bets. You want to up it? And the guy he thinks he's got a sucker. He thinks he's got a play. He thinks he's got something. He says, yeah. Would you like to up it a little? How much? And now the guy who thinks he's got the edge goes, double. Let's make it double. Let's make it triple. I don't know about that. I'm not sure. That's a little steep. What's the matter? You afraid? All right. And then he puts the hook in. And now he plays the real way that he can play. And he racks it up. And he racks it up. It's like all of a sudden, after about the fourth rack, the guy realizes, I've been taken. I have been suckered. And that's what he did. He went into fighters' hometowns and he made the fight, Bud, close. Just close where he won, but very close. He gave away rounds, but did enough to win. And then they would fight the rematch. And in the rematch, he would go, listen to this, he would find, it was in towns that were not no decision towns. There was somewhere you could, gamble. Or if you couldn't gamble there, you could gamble a little outside. So now he would bet on himself. But now he got the odds down because he was one of the great fighters, Abe Attell, so he was always going to be the favorite. But now after he fought a razor-thin decision with this guy, the bookmakers would say, okay, instead of making him a 5-1, 6-1 prohibitive favorite, let's make it, 2-1. Let's make it, close. Because you never know. The guy's in his hometown. He fought a really, really close fight the first time. He's liable to win it this time. Okay, real close. And now he goes and he sends it in. He bets big on himself. It was a good Christmas.
Incredible story.
It was a good Christmas. Honey, it's going to be a good Christmas, hon. It's going to be a good Christmas. Here's the coat you wanted. Here it is.
It sounds like when it comes to rematches, he was like Sugar Ray Robinson. He didn't lose any.
He destroyed the guy. I wonder if they realize, we've been hoodwinked here. We've been hooked. The bookmakers, if they said, holy Christ, look what he did. Okay, number one. Wow, number one. This is something to be number one. I mean, it don't mean that someone else wouldn't have someone else number one. I already said it. So many great fighters. Oh, my goodness. So many great ones. And so hard. But number one, there's got to be a number one. Benny Leonard. 89, 6-1. 119 no decision fights. Lightweight champion of the world. All the experts, guys that really were experts in the history of boxing back in the day, they put Leonard on par with the great Joe Gans. for being the greatest lightweights in the 20th century, and some of the greatest fighters of all time in the 20th century. 219 fights. He lost only 5, Benny Leonard. So 219 when you include the no decisions. 219 total fights, lost 5. We don't count, count the newspaper decisions. Because again, that you have to, that is not as, that is not as tangible as just a win and a loss and a guy getting his hand raised. So 219 fights in total, lost only 5 really. You don't count the newspaper decisions. Some people think, that he was maybe the greatest lightweight of all time, but definitely one of the great, great, great fighters in the history of the sport. Jewish or any denomination, any ethnicity, any religion group, any nationality. I mean, he fits in with any. I mean, this is a guy who was dominant during his time. During the period that he had the lightweight championship, he was dominant. During that period, he wound up coming back. He had a terrible situation where he lost all his money in investments in the stock market during the Great Depression, when the market crashed. And he lost his money, and he had to come back. I don't remember if it was 6 years he'd been off or retired or somewhere in that neighborhood he came back. And of course he was never the Benny Leonard that he was before that. But during his prime, during that period that he was lightweight champion, he retired at that time as lightweight champion, where nobody beat him in the lightweights during the period that he was champion. He retired, and then, of course, like I said, he wound up coming back whatever amount of time, 6 years, whatever, where he was forced to come back. But during that period, he was as good as any fighter. I mean, he was that dominant. He was that good. That's my list. And I made a note to myself. There was a trainer, great trainer, Marciano's trainer. You guys have probably heard about him. Charlie Goldman. He was very more known as being the great Rocky Marciano's trainer. He was also a great Jewish fighter in his own right. He had 129 fights. I just figured that's a nice little trivia, a little addition there, that Rocky Marciano's trainer was also a great fighter.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Just like the great Joe Louis, Sam. The great Joe Louis had the great fighter. Yeah, Jackie Blackburn, great fighter, just a great fighter, and he became a great trainer in developing the great Joe Louis. It's kind of funny. Here are guys that were, that were fighters at first, of course, and at smaller weights, and they go on to really be more known as the trainers of great champions. Both of them.
Sure. Yeah. And that was a great list. I mean, 200-something fights, Benny Leonard, and all his hair is always intact and in place, right? Incredible. Unbelievable. I just wanted to say, I hope, not to sound corny, but I really appreciate you doing this and taking the time. I do get goosebumps hearing these stories. I think it's important. Forget boxing, for men, for people, to have this inspiration, to hear these stories, to know the strength and what these people went through and persevered. And when you think you're having a tough time in our days, think about what they went through then. But then from a boxing standpoint, to be educated, like we talk about, to bring light to these great fighters. But for me, it's been so long, I don't know about, other than Benny Leonard, much at all of any of these great Jewish fighters or how many there were. I just know it's been so long since there's been any Jewish fighters. It's been 15 years since a Jewish fighter has won a world title, and that was Yuri Foreman when he held it for a short amount of time before losing to Miguel Cotto. I remember the tough Dana Rosenblatt, on the Friday Night Fights fighting Vinny Pazienza, but never guys of this ilk. So I really, really enjoyed it. I hope the viewers do as well. And leave some comments. Let us know your feedback, your thoughts, what you guys think of the list, who's maybe missing, who would be on your list. And we'll be back next week with another one.
You know who was one? I got to say one thing. There was a fighter that I left off because, you could only put what I put. Not everyone could be on there. But there was a great Jewish fighter that I have to say this only because my mentor, Costamato, was one of his favorite fighters. Sid Terrace. Yeah, I just had to say that. Sid Terrace, you know what Cus told me about Sid Terrace, bud? Cus told me a lot of stuff, I was privileged. I was blessed. But to learn at his feet. But he told me that Sid Terrace invented his own punch. That Sid Terrace would jump up in the air and hit you with 3 jabs before he came back to the ground. I'm just telling you what Cus told me. I mean, when Cus spoke to me, I'm an 18-year-old kid back then. I was riveted. I mean, I was focused. I'm not focused. I'm not focused. Yeah, I do. I believe. I wanted to believe.
I thought you got to be set to punch.
Not Sid Terrace.
Not Sid Terrace.
That's what made him Sid Terrace.
He's a legend.
There's always guys that can break the rules. Never forget that. Never forget that.
That's so true.
And they can get it done.
Well,
anyway,
I
hope people enjoy it.
I hope everyone enjoys it. And we will be back with some more lists and historical content next week.